Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Kibler, Director of Training and Client Business Support for eTruckBiz. We just hit the top of the hour and got started a little bit late. We're going to let this attendee list climb here. So please sit tight for a minute and we'll get going with some of our normal information as well as some highlights from last week's summit. So please sit tight for a minute and we'll get going here shortly. Thank you very much. All righty, it looks like the attendee list has leveled off. So once again, this is Ken Kibler, Director of Training and Client Business Support. Welcome. We're back here after last week's week off, where many of us attended the summit. Hopefully, if you attended, you found that a worthwhile event, and hopefully you stopped by our booth to meet our team. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Walzak. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we can get to those at the end. So without further ado, take it away, Jeff.
So as always, thanks for spending some time with us. And need to remind you that eTruckBiz is not endorsed, sponsored, approved, or otherwise affiliated with FedEx Corporation. All right. Let's take a look at what's going on with the volume. So pickup stops above trend last week, down some, but it's still above trend. That's good. Now packages though fallen under trend. That's not a good sign. And pickup stops per dispatch still fairly healthy, so kind of shaky on the pickup side of things. How about the delivery side? Oh no, that's not too good. Stops fell way under the trend line, and packages are under the trend line. Now keep in mind that this data is showing on the pickup side, it shows basically what's getting picked up on the vans, not necessarily trailer spots. And then when you see it on the delivery side like that, way under the trend line or down or a different number, that's because trailer spots didn't do very well last week. So looks like the volume's drying up a little bit. And then what matters to us is the productivity. Well, can we demonstrate proficiency to our friends at FedEx? So routes dispatched came down a little bit with the volume. That looks pretty good. But oh dear Lord. Stops per dispatch dropped real far. This is a very disturbing trend right here, or a disturbing result right there.
Okay, we understand that you're training and building up and you got a little extra money from that Schedule K, but at the same time, this is a time to put that extra money from the Schedule K in your pocket and save it up. It's a time where you can ask experienced drivers to take some time off, start building some of the hours per dispatch up as well, and spreading that work out among your existing drivers while you do train some new drivers. But existing drivers would like a break before they get to peak. If they're working 6 days a week, every other week, can they work 5? I'm sure they can, and they'd probably welcome that break. So, but I mean, dropping 10 stops per dispatch at a minimum, if your total revenue per stop is $350, you're giving up $35 per dispatch. So that's $35 of profit gone. You're not getting that back. So I encourage everybody keep an eye on your volume, keep an eye on your dispatches. Don't be throwing that extra weekly money away at this time. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, that's fine. Take a look at your historical numbers. I know everybody wants to say that, well, I can only go by what's in the DRO. Well, that's one of the tools to look at, but look at your historical volume, especially right now, October through the first part of November here. All right, so we want to ask a question. Do you know how many stops per dispatch do you have out there today? Who's looking at it? Do you know? Do you know your easy number? And those of you that use the systems know that your easy number is right here. Right there at the top of the page. That's the number you need. That's the magic number. If you don't know, what is it costing you? All right. So, like Ken said, it was great to see a lot of you last week at the show. That was really cool. So let's go through some of the key takeaways and things we saw at the show. Now, as we go through some of these things, and some of you were, if you were at some of the breakout sessions or some of the speeches and whatnot, and saw or heard some other things, go ahead and raise your hand or say something. We'll open up your mic so you can say something about whatever we're talking about here, right? So the first thing that kind of a takeaway from the show is there was really no bombshell announcements in the different sessions that we heard of. Okay, they like I said, they didn't let us in those sessions, so we don't know what they said, but there was a whole bunch of FedEx folks talking to contractors. Understandably, there was not much news made, at least in the open sessions. Now, we heard a lot of other things, but as far as presentations made, I don't think there's that much news. Like I said, if you think something got announced or whatever, and you want to share it with the group, just go ahead and either put it in the question and answer or chat or something like, and we'll let you tell everybody. Now, most of the folks that went wanted to hear more news about the express rollout. As far as I know, they really didn't say that much. I can tell you that there's a big rollout plan for after the first of the year. But I don't think they said that. Did you hear that, Ken?
I did not hear. I know the word 20, the number 20% was thrown around, but I do not believe that was announced in any of the breakout sessions.
Okay. And of course they're not gonna lay their plans out there like that, because for lots of reasons. There's all kinds of different reasons. Competitive reasons. You can't just throw it out there, people start quitting and whatnot. So they couldn't, but a lot of people wanted to hear that. And then apparently the Know Your Numbers session was a lively session. And that's the same thing. If anybody that's on this particular call, if you were there, please say something about it. All right, let's
That's the one, yeah, that's the one we seem to get the most feedback and seem to be the most lively. So the variance from what FedEx perceives as reality and what service providers perceive as reality are about 33% off.
So another takeaway, and this was impressive actually, service provider business awareness. So what does that mean? It was very apparent that folks are starting to understand what makes those organizations successful, including your culture, structure, and day-to-day operations. So it used to be, and not too long ago, it was all about, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, this blaming, being the victim, blaming FedEx for everything. But it appeared, at least the folks we talked to, or I talked to, I think in general, folks are starting to get it that you're gonna have to change how you think about your business. Right. And I think it's like acceptance, right? Folks are looking to get a grip on their business to it because you know something is coming. Right. We wish they would just go out there and tell everybody, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is when it's going to happen. They're not, but everybody knows something's about to happen, right? Like I just said, I didn't hear, of course, everybody's going to complain about several things about FedEx, but I didn't hear that theme as much as I've heard in the past. So, I mean, to me, that was very encouraging that, you know, you guys, you're running your own businesses and it's up to you to make sure that they're profitable and that they run well and whatnot. I thought I was impressed by a lot of that. Third thing, takeaway was the freight, and this was something they announced, the freight, ground, and express line haul operations are definitely getting put together. So if there's any line haul folks on here, you know what that's going to mean for you. That is great. That is a really good thing. The reason they're doing that is there's something called load factor. Ken, can you tell us what load factor is?
Yeah, in the small package world, it's number of packages that are on the trailer. You know, back in the day, we had goals of 950 or 1,000, and you had different goals, whether they were mainline, meaning hub to hub, or from hub to satellite. And the reason why you have different goals, because on your hub to satellite, you have the chance of more partials. You will always have a partial into every single one of your satellite locations if you're a hub. Uh, in the LTL market, it's pounds on the trailer because they bill basically on a per pound basis. So they're trying to get as much weight on a trailer that is legally possible. On a 53 footer, you're looking maximum weight would be about 47,000 pounds. On a pup would be about 28,000 pounds. So once again, in the hub lanes, they're trying to load everything full. Well, you can't necessarily do that, but what you can do is start to balance odd number of trailers. Say I send 4 from my hub in Toledo to Grand Rapids, but Grand Rapids only sends me 3. Well, wouldn't it be great if I could match up that extra trailer from Grand Rapids on the freight side and put that and move that down to Toledo to a what they call a break bulk on the LTL side. So there's tons of opportunities there to reduce an imbalance or what they say crossing empty trailers. Because in small package, what you have to do if you're sending 4 to Grand Rapids and Grand Rapids is only sending 3, they're going to send an empty. So you don't want empties crossing each other. And so you can maximize either a set of doubles or if you could put small package on the back of a partial LTL trailer and have that trailer come into the small package hub first before it goes over to the LTL facility, fantastic. So those kind of synergies are incredible. Back in the day, $1.79 per package went to the cost of every package for the line haul. Every package was assigned a rate of $1.79. That's what it costs. So can you eliminate and lower that cost significant billions and billions of dollars? Hope I didn't go on too long there.
That's good. And they're definitely they're gonna go after this here very, very soon. And that's probably the reason why the new terminals that they're building they have there's no question about it. They have freight handling capability in the back zone. Those of you that are in some of the new terminals, go to the back of the building find out how much empty space is back there. That amounts to what's called a cross dock, or a place where you could do a cross dock operation. And look at the doors. They have dock plates on them. The dock plate is a way to move in and out of from a trailer to the dock. And you just pull the plate up, and that way you can roll a forklift or anything back and forth. That's why they're there, because they're going to start combining all this line haul. So that's coming. Another one of the takeaways was, for sure, contractors in good standing are and will be being offered to fill vacant operations. Right now, that's already happened in the past. Like, they would ask folks to you know, are you interested in this operation? But they're aggressively going after this now. Probably at least half of you on this call have been offered, or not necessarily specific operations yet, but if they have come to you and said, hey, are you thinking about growing your business? They really want to know, because as things evolve here, there's always vacant operations, but they want to fill the vacant operations with existing contractors, right? The reason is, we're going to say it several times, the complexity of the operations is getting to the point where somebody new coming into the business it's it's difficult enough to learn the business from a simple standpoint, a relatively simple standpoint. But now with Express and everything else going on, it's not really good for new folks. So there's going to be a concerted effort to try to get current good operators to take over other existing operations, but not necessarily in the terminal you're in, right? It's going to be in some other terminal someplace else. And as we said, a lot of astute contractors visit us for the ability to manage the situation. So the thing about having a multiple terminal operation is you have to be able to do the same thing especially your administrative processes and the way you do things has to be the same way in each terminal. You can't have one recruiting process in one terminal and another recruiting process in another terminal. I mean, you can do that, but it won't be successful because you can't manage both of those. If you just have the same thing you do the same thing the same way everywhere that you have terminals. And when we're talking terminals, we're not talking about one extra terminal. We're talking about 5, 6, 10 multiple terminal operations. In fact, when we were talking to folks, they were saying you're going to have as many as you think you can handle. If you can manage them, they'll give you as much as you want to handle. So think about it this way. Does McDonald's make a Big Mac differently in every McDonald's store?
Nope. The one I had in Florida tasted just like the one here in Wadsworth.
And the way to do that is you'd make it the very same way with the same ingredients, the same way in each McDonald's, right? That is a huge, very big point going forward.
Can
Okay?
I add to that on the operation side, Jeff?
Sure.
Yeah. And just as it's important to have those same procedures in different stations, you must be able to evaluate your operation and keep your data separate by each operation, because you have different contracts. So you're going to have different revenue per stop. You're going to have different goals for your stops per dispatch. And you want to make sure your results, you can separate those results. You want to separate the revenue, the stops, the driver productivity, the on-road hours. So if your overall business is struggling somewhere, I need to go to which station am I struggling in operationally and financially. So that's what makes our software so valuable.
This is the wave of the future right here, for sure. One of the waves of the future. The fifth point, and this wasn't necessarily, well, this is something we caught on to pretty quick at the show. So the new Veeder AI cameras and whatnot are creating some difficulties, right? So Bob, are you on here?
Yes, I
Bob
am.
Teal. Can you tell
Can you hear
us,
me?
yes, can you tell us why the new AI camera configurations are harder to manage?
Well, I guess first off, the KIs are new. Now you got new KIs. The biggest one that I've seen so far that's just out of control is fail to stop or incomplete stops. The amount of events that are happening with those things is just tenfold. And before, it never came up before. If it did, it was very seldom, but now it's coming up all the time. That's what I see. That's 60% of my coaching is failed to stop or incomplete stops. Another one too is the seatbelts. That machine keeps talking to the drivers, seatbelt, 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 and everyone just ignores it. Why are they ignoring that? Isn't their goal to get home safely to their parents, and to their family each and every night? If it's not, it needs to be. Bad accidents happen, and when you're not ready for them, that's when they do happen.
Well, the
Handheld,
point, the point is that,
yes.
well, the point is, it's just more difficult. Are you seeing more incidents happening that you got to
Yes.
respond to?
Yep, and it's time consuming. The amount of
Right.
time I'm putting in right now versus prior to this was, it's tenfold. It's going through the roof. So, we've got that service that we can help you guys with that. And when somebody else too, the biggest thing that I've seen is, if it's someone from your operation doing the coaching, are they actually doing the coaching? Is it being talked to the driver? Or I'm emailing this drivers in the BCs each and every event. Somebody's seeing it now, whereas before, who was seeing it? And hopefully, it's going to take a bit here. It's been 10 days, but hopefully here another 5-6 days, we see those events go down because people are watching, and that's what you need. You want to make sure your drivers are safe out there on the road. And this here is going to be either it's going to work or it's just going to blow up, in your faces because you can't, because it wasn't get managed before, but it is now. And drivers, for the most part, yeah, they can get mad and say they're going to quit, but where are they going to go to? They can't go somewhere else because they're going to have the same issues there.
Yeah.
They're going to have to put their seatbelts on now. They're going to have to, no more rolling stops. They're going to have to do the things the right way. So, dig into that Veeder. If you need some help with it, let us know. But it is definitely more time consuming and more difficult now than it was prior to 10/1/2024.
Jeff, you're muted.
Were you going to say something?
Nope.
Ken? No.
Well, I mean, yeah. Remember, the goal of the Veeder is to change behaviors. And so you will have, and that's what has proven effective with the previous cameras, and now the AI cameras is to change behaviors as well. So think of that as a goal. Looks like somebody has raised their hand.
Oh.
Rudy
Okay, hang on,
Rodriguez.
here we go.
Yeah, Rudy Rodriguez.
Hey, how's it going? This is my
Good.
first time getting in on a Zoom right here with you guys. But I just had a question. What type of vetter are you guys utilizing? What company is it? Is it your guys' own?
When we help folks with administrating their vetters, veters, we use all of them. Doesn't matter what flavor it is. Could be lytics, anything.
So the coaching call, we could coach off of any of those. So we do not have our own Veeder system, but as Jeff said, Lytics would be one that we coach off of, and but we can help anybody on any one of the Veeder systems. Does that answer your question, Rudy?
Yeah, no, I was just wondering the capabilities of like the other better companies. Are they all communicating with the drivers, giving them warnings, letting them know prior to the violation? Is that how all of them are set up, or they're all set up different?
I believe that's how they're all have to be set up. That was part of the requirements with the new AI cameras, from what I understand.
Okay. Anything else, Rudy?
No, that's it for right now.
Excellent. Appreciate your
Thanks.
participation, and thank you for joining us today.
Hang on here a second. Hey, I did it. All right. So let's move on. Okay. So this was interesting. FedEx was supportive of our efforts, right? So I don't think anybody at FedEx would dispute the fact that the business is becoming more complex. I don't know if anybody on here would dispute the fact that the business is becoming more complex. Most of you that are on here, a few might have this, but once you get you're going to get some express volume here sooner than you think. That's going to raise the complexity level of this business at least 3 or 4 times. The folks at FedEx were they like what we're doing. They like that we're focusing on areas, what we call non-revenue producing activities, so you guys can focus on revenue producing activities. It's actually we could talk all day about this, but that's really the way of the future, right? So whoops. They also talked about, to us at least, and I don't know if they said anything in some of the breakout sessions or not, but part of the complexity is thinking about expense management in a completely different way. Some of you know that we've got some things that are just about to get introduced into the space here that are going to help a ton with managing your expenses. So in the past, you used to be able to set up your routes, send people out there 5 days a week, same route every day. It was just a matter of how much volume was coming to a route, if you want to look at it that way. And that's kind of what you did. But because of all the different moving parts now, managing expenses in addition to the operation is going to be one of the most important things that you're going to do every day, right? There's so much more coming on that here shortly. And then just in this kind of vein, FedEx saying, they really like what we're doing here. We're to look for more. So those of you that are on here, hopefully we have a real-time API with FedEx to get some data from them, and it helps us with a lot of different things, keeping up with different things. But we're going to get some additional data connections in the future that are going to make life a lot easier for you guys as well. Okay, just can't really tell you what those are yet, but that's going to happen. Okay, another thing here is, now this is huge. Those of you that have been through payroll audits know what this is like, but there's going to be a new push on payroll audits. Okay, the old programs that they used to point you to try to, if you got in the payroll audit penalty box.
I was
Those
saying that one 3 times fast.
I couldn't say it one time. Those programs are being sunsetted. Okay, which means they're not going to be around anymore. But there's going to be a new one to take its place. Keep your eyes open for this. Can't tell you too much more than that about this. Because it's probably a whole nother webinar topic, but it's time to consider. Now, catch the hint here. It's time to consider how and why to switch to start paying by the hour. Okay. I know it's not an easy thing. There's a process to go through to do this, and it's culture change, and it's a whole lot of things. But I'm telling you,
It's part of the evolution of your business. You know, that goes with different type of driver types that you will be using as well.
okay. All right. So our overall takeaway from the show, it looks like the trend continues to shift to service providers that rely on business systems and processes. So what we mean by that is it looks like it's not just what FedEx wants, because they do want this, but that's why so many people came to our booth. That's what a lot of people were talking about. Hey, do you have some systems and processes that I can use so I can systematize my business, right? You can't, it's not going to work anymore managing on emotion and feeling. Well, I think this and I wonder that, and that's just not going to work. And most that came to our booth were looking for, like I just said, systems and processes. And fortunately, we've been working on this for a long time because we knew it was coming. So anyways, it was really, really good to see that. The combination of express volume into the network, even though it might be a little bumpy initially, and we've said this before too, is going to create the formidable transportation company, the most formidable transportation company in the world. If you think about it, what's the big thing? You guys are the low-cost producer, low-cost provider of last mile services anywhere. If you can put all the networks together and be the low-cost provider, you can be the dominant transportation company, not just in where you're at, but everywhere. That's where they're going. So if you want to get on the Network 2.0 train, and here's the thing too, FedEx wants you on the Network 2.0 train. They can't do it unless service providers, contractors, get on the program. And the good news is, and what I'm trying to tell you, is it looks like for the most part, everybody's getting on the program. That's good. We and FedEx would like you to consider taking a look at the eTruckBiz business support system. The services contractors need to grow in Network 2.0. But what is that? That's the Administrative Services Manager program, the Optimized Performance program, and the Expense Management system that will be unveiled here soon. And now for a limited time, you can get a standard budget, financial plan, and easy number when you book a consultation to learn more about the business support system. Remember, that system's all about eliminating non-revenue producing activity.
And that's one of the questions that we'll explain what those are. So
anyway, you'll get the plan, a budget, easy number. This is a little bit of how it looks when we do this with you. This is customized for your CSA. That's why we need a little bit of data from you. We're going to ask you for your payroll, some payroll expenses and whatnot. Most of the other data we have. But to do this, you just make an appointment with Becca at, there's her email address. You go to that page to book an appointment, or if some of you have her phone number now, because you got her card and whatnot. So there you go. Let's talk. Let's see if we got any questions. Any
We do.
things.
First one comes from Richard. It says, what other options do you have if veteran drivers don't want to take any time off and the new drivers need 5 days worth of work? Definitely would encourage you, the new drivers. Remember, you're hiring these people for seasonal work. So you don't owe them the hours, but I'm relatively sure some of your existing drivers, if you have 12 of them and you ask them to take 1 day off every other week, you could probably get somebody to take off just so they could schedule some time to get things done prior to the holiday and stuff like that. So I really think that is about individual communication, asking, hey, can you use some time off, use a day off? And the new drivers, again, you're hiring them for seasonal. Yes, you would like them to stick around after peak if they're really good, because they will then be an upgrade to one of your other drivers who may not be as good. So upgrades are good, but at the same time, I would encourage that. The other thing you can do is there other work available in your station. If you have one of your neighbor CSPs is short a driver for the day, can you pick that up and run that under your contract? Always try to look for work within your building first. If you do have an extra amount of drivers, the other thing you can do, and yeah, you don't want the extra dispatches, but if you're paying by the hour, you reduce the on-road hours for each one of the drivers. So that would be the most thing you're doing. Ask if we can help with the line haul business to make you more profitable. We can do that. So I'm going to reach out. We'd like to reach out to Kenneth directly on what we can do. We are working just like we have an easy number for line haul. We're going to work up some budgeting stuff. Our easy number for P&D would work up some budgeting numbers for line haul as well. Key in line haul is tractor utilization and working to generate enough revenue per tractor. And of course, that's either doing enough spots or enough line haul miles to generate that targeted number there, which is normally a revenue. An old number that used to be thrown around was $5,500 a week for a tractor. I think you got to do a little bit more than that now, but we can definitely give you some guidance on that. Next question. What would be considered revenue generating versus non-revenue generating work? You want that one, Jeff, or you want me to take that?
Well, let's just take one. There's a whole slew. If you come to the presentation, we'll go through a whole bunch of revenue generating activities versus non-revenue generating activities. But probably one of the biggest non-revenue generating activities that a lot of you do is you do your own payroll. Now, payroll is important, right? Gotta do everybody's payroll, but you spending hours doing your own payroll doesn't generate you any revenue, right? Your time is better spent trying to figure out how to eliminate a dispatch, planning the next day's routes, coaching drivers, following up on drivers, following up on, asking somebody why they're back at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and in the morning they told you they couldn't get done that day. Whatever it is, there are things you should be paying attention to, and as the business becomes more complex, there are things you shouldn't do. There's a lot of things like that. Payroll, recruiting's, if you ask us, we'll tell you that's probably one of the most important things that needs to happen all the time. But should you be doing that? Yes, it's important, but does it generate revenue? Right? Hopefully that make sense? Ken, is there any other?
Now, we got a question that kind of goes on the back of it. Are non-revenue duties expenses calculated into our negotiations? Somewhat, yes. FedEx is going to tell you that many service providers are overstaffed in the BC ranks. They're going to, we think that number's 1 for 14 drivers. If you're working 7 days a week, well, you say, I can't work my BC 7 days a week. You'd be correct. Can you handle the lighter days with the lead driver? Yes. But FedEx might tell you it's 1 for 10. We still think it's about 1 for 14 for the way that it lines up financially. So they do consider it, but they don't want you overpaying for those services as well either. And they might tell you you're paying too much. And that kind of goes on with the vendors that were selected to be there last week. FedEx vets the vendors that were there. I'm not going to say that 3 times fast either. There were some vendors that were noticeably absent last week. FedEx wants the vendors who can make the CSPs more efficient and give them the best value. So, yeah, like I said, they do include it. I know it's a long-winded answer, but they do include it within reason. Okay.
There's a budgeted, so when you go through the presentation, we'll show you what they think you should spend on payroll, recruiting, and different other activities. There is a budget item for it. They think they pay you for that, right? You just have to ask yourself, when do I quit cutting my own grass? I mean, at some point, your time is worth more to your business than to do payroll and whatnot.
Great answer. Can you talk about what you've seen so far with the redrawing of CSAs from the express integration? Is FedEx using this opportunity to move on from contractors who aren't running efficient and doing things correctly? You want that one, Jeff?
But actually, probably don't want me to answer that.
I'll answer this one. The answer is yes. They absolutely, if you are not efficient, they will move on. If you can't run time definite service at 98.5, they will move on. And we've seen buildings where they've moved express into the building, or they've moved a CSA to another building simply because the majority of that express business actually comes out of a different airport. So, and yes, they will take advantage of CSPs that do not demonstrate proficiency. Were those the words in the contract, Jeff?
Certainly is. Another thing is, if they don't think that someday, not tomorrow, but someday you're not necessarily capable of running a multi-facility operation, you might not necessarily be on the contract renewal list.
So they're going to get what they want. They wrote the contract so they get what they want, but they're going to give very good service providers a chance to do what they want, to grow profitably. Okay. So another question, our district, the Columbia River Basin, has been told we are going 7 days a week for the 4 weeks of peak. Are you hearing chatter of this across the country? Do you think FedEx will follow through with this threat? It's very common that they do go seven days during peak season. Absolutely. The Youngstown station here close to me is a 6-day operation. They go 7 days during peak all the time. It builds in a little bit of a comfort zone. It gives you that day to catch up on Sunday if somebody gets behind, but it's there to prevent you from getting behind. Is it more expensive? Yes. Is it crucial that you plan accordingly with your staffing? Yes. Once again, you can utilize some part-time people for that as well. As we talked previously about recruiting seasonal drivers, non-traditional students that only want to work a couple days a week are absolutely fantastic to work Saturday and Sunday. And guess what else happens? They finish classes and they are available even more days during the week during that peak season. So, but yes, FedEx will implement this and have done so in most stations throughout the country with the 7-day. So, do you have a system that tracks driver activity, including productivity, time off, and safety? We absolutely do, especially productivity and time off. Safety can absolutely be tracked in our system. We have the ability to have business discussions and document each one of your employees within the system. So that is all part of the eTruckBiz portal. Anything to add to that, Jeff?
Nope, that's all, as you just said, that's all part of it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And what's
Been that way for a
accessible
long
for
time.
what's accessible for drivers are their time records, their requests off. That is all available in the driver app. Their safety compliance with the training is also available in the app. What was the uproar about in the Know Your Numbers breakout session? So you want me to go into that, Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So FedEx believed and stated that you can put a 650 cube on a P1000, and CSPs resoundingly said, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't. Some CSPs said as low as 350 cube. Some has said as high as 450. So as I said, you can see there's a 33% variance. So that is definitely something that I think FedEx took back to the drawing board. I think they'll go out and see. But what is a full van? For me, a full van is loaded front to back. And you say, well, you can't do that. The driver can't deliver that way. They can if it is set up properly. I know the business has changed, but in 1991, I had a driver in Evansville, Indiana, who went out every day with 450 packages. Now, 450 you're not going to fit 450 in now. I know that, but he was literally full from front to back, delivered 2 malls and 2 zip codes. I know the business has changed since then, but he knew how to work that truck. Were his first 3 stops out of the back of the truck? Yes. Were his first 5 truck stops out of the back of the truck clearing the aisle? Probably, but he was able to clear that aisle first and then went and did his stops afterwards. And this guy, like I said, 450 packages, 150 stops delivered, and then would pick up another 12 stops, 200 packages. He was as good as anybody I've seen, no doubt about it. But what is your definition of a full truck? If your driver is re-optimizing, guess what? He's going to be going from section 1 to section 4 to section 5. Oh, back to 1. That driver has to have a clean out because he can't get back to that stuff. Henceforth, why DRO setup is so important and why they can't re-optimize. They have to deliver the truck in the order that it is loaded. Therefore, as a wise man at FedEx Ground used to say, run my place. So anything to add to that, Jeff?
No, there was more to it, but you don't necessarily need to get into it. There's some folks I'm gonna rate that have their hand raised. Let me take a shot at David. Let's see if we can get you to talk. Whoops.
Yep.
I was one for one before.
Here, I can get it. Oh, no. No, you have to do that.
I don't know how did I do the other one? Hey, David, try saying something.
There you go.
I'm unmuted. I didn't ask a question. Sorry if I raised my hand. It was accidental.
Oh.
Okay.
Damn it.
He was so excited. He almost got a golf
Yeah.
clap, David.
Oh, Rudy, hand up again. How do I do that?
Hey, how's it going? Are you there?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I was the one that was asking the questions about the activity of the drivers. So what I was really referring to is like some type of a gaming software for the drivers to be engaged. Because I think a lot of the this things with the drivers not wanting to do certain things, not wanting to follow certain rules, is because they're not being engaged, right? And like so the Air 2 with them coming in, the new AI cameras, it's kind of good, but they're not used to it, right? They're not used to the direct feedback like you were mentioning. So do you guys have something that you're working on that kind of is gearing towards that? Like sometimes that's why I was asking those questions. I'm kind of looking for something like a gaming system for the drivers to kind of interact with what it is that they're doing, because they're an important part of the operation, and it's also one of the biggest expenses in operation. So do you guys have anything like something like that?
Rudy, how'd you know we were in the middle of doing that?
Because it's not there. Somebody's got to be doing it. It's not there yet, and that's important for any industry when you really think about it. But for the drivers, I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody's drivers nor mine, but for what we're able to pay them, it's kind of you can't really retain high quality. And so there needs to be something in place, such as like something like this, because everything's on gaming system now. I don't know how many of you guys go to Starbucks, but I had to cut it off because you think they're making you're making all these points to spend $100 to get $10 back, $5 back, and it's like it's just something with the mind and the psychology that I believe is very important that will work for these drivers. So yeah, no, I was just inquiring. I've been looking for it, and I'm actually even working with developers to see if they're interested, but I don't think they really understand the concept of how it could grow and scale.
Well, you got to have it just more than just game. You got to have the data, right? That's the first thing. And if you don't have the data, it doesn't really matter what you're trying to develop, because it has to be based. You got to try to get them to do something. So that's fortunately we do. And guess what, Rudy? How about, do you want to be on our people figuring this out?
That'll be awesome. Yeah. That'll be great.
So
That's
we got
awesome.
I think we got your some contact information for you. If not, call one of us afterwards or something. And
Yeah, we'll definitely, if you've signed up, we definitely have that, and we're gonna definitely reach out, because we've been talking about this for quite some time. That's for sure. So that's for sure.
yeah, we started it, but now's the time. If you want to add to it, now's the time.
Awesome. So another question, did I hear you say we need to transition to hourly pay for express? Can't hear her in the truck. We think you should always work towards progressing towards hourly pay. And with some of the express, you might be utilizing part-timers. So needless to say, you can't pay a daily rate with part-timers. And yeah, you have the opportunity. You can use some APVs, but would I be better off utilizing a part-timer? And of course, I said a part-timer would definitely have to be, you're not paying a daily rate for a part-timer. So that was it. Just a comment question, Jeff, wouldn't all of the revenue producing activities that you listed earlier be more activities completed by the BCs and not the AOs? I would have.
Wait, right there. Stop right there.
Yep.
BCs and AOs have, just telling you how it is, have to concentrate on revenue producing activities. Is that what we're saying here, Jeff? Wouldn't all the revenue producing activities listed be more activities?
Yep.
You don't want your BC doing, especially your BC doing payroll, recruiting. Now, recruiting as a whole is a process, right? You got to go out there, ads, however you get them, come in, you got to screen them, you got to do whatever, you got to talk to them. Now, your BC should be presented in the end of the recruiting process with, here are a few folks that would make it, right? At that point, yeah, BC interviews whoever it is, do I want to hire this person or not? But there's a ton of work out in front of that the BC should not be doing. BCs need, here's something we didn't mention. For optimized CSAs, and Carrie, if you're on here and if you want to chime in on this, please do. But optimized CSAs, which means there's new charges you're going to get paid for express stops. Okay, trying to make it simple. You're going to get paid if you make service by the stop. Anyway, it amounts to anywhere from 3.5% to more than 8% of those folks that are doing express and have optimized CSAs. It's almost like 8% of their revenue. You can't not make sure that the folks, that your drivers are not, they have to, if 10:30 has to be delivered by 10:30. There's no, maybe I'll get it there by 10:30. I tried. No. And not just because FedEx has the guarantee, but because it's going to mean a large percentage of your revenue. I hope that makes sense, right? So somebody has to watch that. That's what your BC's there to do.
But yeah, and your BC, I mean, what can they do to help increase your revenue or what your revenue per dispatch? Be on a truck training drivers, training the methods, making sure those trucks are full. Not just the driver saying, oh, my truck's full, shut the door, go, woohoo, out the door. So that is thing. As an AO, as Jeff said, you could spend 5 hours screening to get 2 applicants. Is that worth your time? You have to ask yourself that. As processing payroll can take 2-3 hours a week. Is
Or
that
more.
or more? Is that worth your time? Especially if, am I looking up, I pay a bonus, so I got to make sure Fred's he did over 140 stops that day. So I got to print that DSW. I got to print that DSW and then I can compare it. You know, our systems are set and geared to help you with that. So, but yeah, there's no doubt that the AO is still involved in non-revenue producing stuff, but be involved in the right non-revenue producing stuff. And your BC should always be focused on enhancing your revenue per dispatch, and your productivity and your safety. Let's just say the most non-revenue producing thing that your BC should have to deal with or will have to deal with is an accident, because that is, if they don't train properly, you're going to have those, and it's going to cost you a lot of money.
So as Express complicates the operation even more, the question to ask yourself is, how much longer and harder are you as an AO willing to work on non-revenue producing activities? If you're willing to stay up later, get up earlier, spend all day on stuff, okay, you can do that. You can do that. But if you're doing that at the expense of, you know, and the other thing about this is that a lot of people are talking about We heard it at the show as well from folks that probably know, you're probably gonna start seeing more same day on calls, pickups, and yes, some 8:30s. Now you're talking about wave dispatches, all kinds of other things. Mr. FedEx isn't gonna just pay you more because you gotta hire 5 BCs. That's not gonna happen. That's already not happened with the folks that have optimized CSAs. It's just,
All right. A lot of great questions today. Greatly appreciated. We took a little more of your time than we normally do. So I'm hoping the number of questions reflects that there was some valuable information shared. We've got a couple people that we'll be reaching out to. We will be back here again next Tuesday. Same time, same bat channel. If we don't talk to you before then, please have a safe and profitable week. Thank you very much.